Why, hello there, friend. We are reading A Course in Miracles. We're delving into the Manual for Teachers, and we're on section 3. What are the levels of teaching? We've read, who are God's teachers, who are their pupils, and now what are the levels of teaching? The teachers of God have no set teaching level. Each teaching-learning situation involves a different relationship at the beginning, although the ultimate goal is always the same, to make of the relationship a holy relationship in which both can look upon the Son of God as sinless. There is no one from whom a teacher of God cannot learn, so there is no one whom he cannot teach. However, from a practical point of view, he cannot meet everyone, nor can everyone find him. Therefore, the plan includes very specific contexts to be made for each teacher of God. There are no accidents in salvation. Those who are to meet will meet, because together they have the potential for a holy relationship. They are ready for each other. The simplest level of teaching appears to be quite superficial. It consists of what seem to be very casual encounters, a quote, chance, unquote, meeting of two apparent strangers in an elevator, a child who is not looking where he is going running into an adult, by quote, by chance, unquote, two students, quote, happening, unquote, to walk home together. These are not chance encounters. Each of them has the potential for becoming a teaching-learning situation. Perhaps the seeming strangers in the elevator will smile to one another. Perhaps the adult will not scold the child for bumping into him. Perhaps the students will become friends. Even at the level of the most casual encounter, it is possible for two people to lose sight of separate interests, if only for a moment. That moment will be enough. Salvation has come. It is difficult to understand that levels of teaching the universal course is a concept as meaningless in reality as is time. The illusion of one permits the illusion of the other. In time, the teacher of God seems to begin to change his mind about the world with a single decision, and then learns more and more about the new direction as he teaches it. We have covered the illusion of time already, but the illusion of levels of teaching seems to be something different. Perhaps the best way to demonstrate that these levels cannot exist is simply to say that any level of the teaching-learning situation is part of God's plan for atonement, and his plan can have no levels, being a reflection of his will. Salvation is always ready and always there. God's teachers work at different levels, but the result is always the same. Each teaching-learning situation is maximal in the sense that each person involved will learn the most that he can from the other person at that time. In this sense, and in this sense only, we can speak of levels of teaching. Using the term in this way, the second level of teaching is a more sustained relationship in which, for a time, two people enter into a fairly intense teaching-learning situation and then appear to separate. As with the first level, these meetings are not accidental, nor is what appears to be the end of the relationship a real end. Again, each has learned the most he can at the time, yet all who meet will someday meet again, for it is the destiny of all relationships to become holy. God is not mistaken in his Son. The third level of teaching occurs in relationships which, once they are formed, are lifelong. These are teaching-learning situations in which each person is given a chosen learning partner who presents him with unlimited opportunities for learning. These relationships are generally few, because their existence implies that those involved have reached a stage simultaneously in which the teaching-learning balance is always perfect. This does not mean that they necessarily recognize this. In fact, they generally do not. They may even be quite hostile to each other for some time and perhaps for life. Yet should they decide to learn it, the perfect lesson is before them and can be learned. And if they decide to learn that lesson, they become the saviors of the teachers who falter and may even seem to fail. No teacher of God can fail to find the help he needs. Again, there's a lot in here. There's a lot being said, and maybe only one thing really being said, but but there's really no levels in reality, right? What are the levels of teaching? There are no levels, right? Every situation is is a different situation, and they're all one. The salvation has already happened. Let's put it this way. Everything is in perfect divine order. The atonement principle being what it is, that separation from God is an illusion. It never happened. This is all a dream that we're in the process of waking up from. And in the illusion of time, it seems as if there are levels, right? As long as time seems real, there seem to be levels. There seem to be different encounters between people in which the teaching learning situation happens. There seem to be some people seem to be a little further ahead, some a little further behind, but that all of that is really part of the illusion, right? And it's not real, not the true reality. And so it's not really, in a way, it's really not helpful to think in terms of levels, right? And that can be a stumbling block, so to speak. That can be another way to feel special. And I think, if anything, Jesus wants to keep reminding us that none of this is to make you feel special. we're all especially special, right? None of us is more special than anyone else. Or you could say, you are very, very special. You are the most special. And so is everyone else. Right? The most important person in the whole wide world is you. And everyone else too. So there are no accidents. There are no accidents in salvation, right? There are no accidents. There seem to be accidents, if you are not cued in or clued in to what this course is saying, which is that the only purpose of the world is for you to wake up from the dream, right? If you understand that to be true, and you accept that could be true, you start to see that there are no accidents, that everything is teaching you either one of two things all the time. You're either learning how to go home or you're learning how to stay in prison. Only those two things, right? In everything. Every encounter is a holy encounter in life. Every single moment, depending on how you see it, is teaching you one of those two things. And you are learning, and you are also teaching and learning only those two things all the time. Some teaching and learning situations are chance. They seem to be chance, right? There's no chance encounters, but they seem to be chance. Some are for a time, right? Two people come together, or maybe more than two people. Well, it's usually two people come together and they learn from each other, maybe in a relationship, like a romantic partnership or some other kind of relationship. And some are a lifetime. Helen and Bill were not their whole lifetime, but most of their later years, they had this relationship, right? And in a sense, it was a lifetime. And they, for the life of them, could not get along. That's where the Course in Miracles came in. Now, I think that was an illusion too, that they couldn't get along. That was part of the teaching. They had to not get along, for the Course to come through. The reality was they they were the teachers of teachers. And I think that's what this is getting at the end, that Helen and Bill, let's read this last thing here. They may even be quite hostile to each other for some time, and perhaps for life. That was Helen and Bill, right? They could never get along, even after the course. Even once the course, when Helen was taking down the course, even afterwards, they still fought, argued, etc., etc. I think things got better, but yet, should they decide to learn it, the perfect lesson is before them and can be learned. And I think it's a mistake to think that Helen did not learn the course. She knew the course better than anyone, right? And Bill, I think, fully understood it too. And he, people say, well, Bill did the course and he became enlightened. I think that's a mistake to even think that he did the course and he became, and he went all the way with it, but Helen didn't. No, they both were. Again, they were the teachers of teachers. So let's read this. And if they decide to learn that lesson, which they did decide, they become the saviors of the teachers who falter and may even seem to fail. No teacher of God can fail to find the help he needs. There's always a teacher who can help you. That if you're not all the way there yourself, there is someone who will come, or something. It doesn't have to be a person, or something that will come and will take you the rest of the way, help you to get the rest of the way. It doesn't have to be a Course in Miracles. It doesn't have to be a person or a guru or a master or anything like that. It could be any number of possibilities. But something will come and help you. If you are really sincere and you're seeking, if you're really sincere in getting to the goal, then it will come and will show you. I think that's all I want to say, or I have to say about this section. It's difficult to understand that levels of teaching the universal course is a concept as meaningless in reality as is time. So there are no levels really, right? There's no orders, no levels, nothing in God's reality. There's no next level. There's no levels. There's no hierarchy. There's no. It's a oneness, a unity beyond concepts, beyond stages or levels or anything like that. And it's useful to keep that in mind with everything, especially when you start to get into your ego and specialness. So, all right, we'll go. We're going to keep going, and thank you for listening. Adios.